Hi, I'm looking at the historical value of spintriae and what we can learn about them and what they can tell us about societal views around sex in ancient Rome. So firstly, what are spintriae? So spintriae or spintria, singular, are round coins or tokens made out of copper alloy, and they were made around 22 to 37 CE. Each token depicts one of 13 sexual scenes on one side, and then on the reverse, it shows a Roman numeral with a laurel wreath around it. The term spintria derived from a Latin derogatory term for homosexuals, and it was applied to these coins by early numismatists. We don't actually know the purpose of spintria, but a lot of scholars have suggested these different theories, that they were playing tokens, locker tokens, propaganda for the emperors, or brothel tokens. So in my argument, I'm going to argue that they are brothel tokens. And I'm going to show this through three pieces of evidence, and that's frescoes from Pompeii, ancient Roman texts, and graffiti. So as you can see here, these are the frescoes from Pompeii, and they show the exact same graphic images as they do on the coins. And though a lot of iconography of sexual scenes in ancient Rome was pretty common, it still doesn't discount that these were brothel tokens. So that's an interesting bit. Second piece of evidence is ancient Roman texts. So here you can see two texts, and I'll just read them out. The capital crimes: to beat a slave near a statue of Augustus, or to change one's clothes there, to carry a ring or coin stamped with his image into a privy or a brothel, or to criticize any word of act of his or act of his. The second one: a young knight carried a coin bearing his image into a brothel, and informers reported it, for this knight was at the same time imprisoned to wait execution. So the suggestion from these texts is that brothel tokens were made because it was illegal and punishable by death to carry in a coin or a token stamped with the image of the emperor. And the third piece of evidence is Roman graffiti found in the walls of Pompeii again. So these are significant because they show us how much a sexual act would be in asses, which is the currency in ancient Rome. So the second part of my argument is that spintriae have value as a historical source. So this is because I'll argue that the number on the back of each token relates to its price in asses, and to the position in front of it. So from this, it tells us what's socially acceptable in ancient Rome and what wasn't socially acceptable. So some examples. One of the most common scenes on the coins is heterosexual vaginal sex. And these are pretty usual scenes of the man dominating the woman. Either on the left, he's behind her, or on the right, the man is on top of the woman. So the cheap price of both of these, so it's only 4 asses on the left and then 3 asses on the right, I don't quite tells us that this was a socially acceptable way to have sex. However, if you look to scenes where the woman is in control or dominant, the price rises quite high, and they're all around 12 to 14 asses. In the British Museum, which is where I've got most of my sources and the images and telling us who is who, they all describe the man as on his knees, which suggests the common thread, and this is why these scenes seem to be more expensive than not socially acceptable. The next scenes are scenes of pedatio or anal intercourse, and this, just like the heterosexual vaginal intercourse, is only 3 asses when it's heterosexual. However, if the scenes are homosexual, the price then rises massively again. So you can see on these ones that the homosexual positions range from 11 to 14 asses, so similar to the price of a female on top of a man, or the man on his knees. So something interesting that's quite tricky to work with is the question of which figure is the customer and which figure is the prostitute. So in relation to these homosexual tokens, scholars have argued that the coins which are cheaper, or 11 asses, so the ones on the right side, show the customer as the kynados, And kenodos is the man who is being penetrated, and it's an ancient term which comes from the word effeminate. So it suggests that if the customer is wanting to be the kenodos, then it costs more, and thus it's less socially acceptable. So then on the other hand of that, it's more socially acceptable to be, not the kenodos. So ancient Roman views on fellatio or oral sex. In ancient Rome, any type of oral sex was deemed very unhygienic and, quite frankly, disgusting, which is actually said in quite a few readings. So as you can see here, some of these are the most expensive ones, with 9 left and then 15 asses on the right. And scholars have argued the same sort of thing, which they talked about with the homosexual coins, is that the image on the right is 15 asses because the customer is wanting to give fellatio rather than receiving it. And then that argues that it was more socially unacceptable for the customer to want to give fellatio to the prostitute. So that's what I'm writing my essay on. It's quite a tricky topic because there isn't really one finite answer that seems most convincing. But I do think that the idea that they're brothel tokens is the most convincing in my opinion. And then obviously what we can learn about them as a historical source, because I think with Roman texts, it's everyone knows that there's a lot of stuff about sex and everything in Roman history, but it's interesting to look at these things and think that they're societal opinions on things and then comparing it to now, I guess, which I don't do in my essay, but maybe a later date. So yeah, that's my essay. Thank you. Got to find out how to finish it. Thanks.